Bronchitis is the inflammation of the lining of your bronchial tubes, which carry air to and from your lungs. People who have bronchitis often cough up like thickened mucus and have, a cough or irritation. And oftentimes it can be either acute or chronic. Welcome back to the Mind Change Podcast. I'm your host, Heather McKean, and today we are covering the emotional drivers behind bronchitis. Now, according to the National Institute of Health, bronchitis ranks among the top 10 most common outpatient illnesses in the United States, affecting approximately 5% of all adults annually. Now, bronchitis is usually a secondary condition. That means it's often developed secondarily to an already present condition like a cold or other respiratory infection. Now, occasional colds, flus, and other common viruses are the body's way of telling us to slow down, take care of ourselves. Now, we're not always aware of or conscious of the fact that we've been feeling like a buildup of stress or overwhelm or unprocessed emotions. So our body has to have a way to communicate that. And communicate it in a way that we can't ignore it. And oftentimes that's what's happening when we do a cold or a flu or something like that. So very common. Now, bronchitis is one of those messages. Yes, it can be absolutely miserable, but your body is basically asking you for a break, and it intends to get it one way or the other. Restricting your air passages is a pretty good tactic. Now, for our purposes today, I want to focus a little bit more on repetitive bronchitis or chronic bronchitis. So if you're dealing with bronchitis more than a couple times a year, or your particular bouts are even more debilitating, your body might be communicating something deeper. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Again, bronchitis usually begins with the message of slow down. So it's quite possible that you've been overworking, overstressing, or just overwhelmed in some facet of life. But for chronic sufferers, this is more likely being driven by a foundational program. For instance, you might be holding on to a good deal of resentment, regret, or guilt from the past. It's likely that there's someone who is or was important to you that you are refusing to forgive. So for you, forgiveness is akin to weakness or vulnerability. The belief is, if I forgive, that means they, whoever they is, wins. So you hold on to the offense and refuse to let go so that not only they don't win, but you don't lose again. You may feel that you have had to take on more responsibilities than others around you, or more than you are able to deal with. So the mantra there can sometimes be, it's not fair. It's not fair that I'm having to do all of this. It's not fair that nobody else is doing this. It's not fair that nobody else is helping me. Also, you feel like you're doing all this stuff and no one else is acknowledging all of the extra efforts that you're putting in and the injustice of that. So again, that's often what is driving these chronic bouts of bronchitis. Another driver is that you've been feeling stuck or trapped by certain situations or relationships. You feel that you cannot breathe in them, or that you're being suffocated, or they're sabotaging you. Remember, the body is very metaphoric. And so this feeling of being suppressed or oppressed or trapped is our body's doing it. It isn't just feelings, it's doing it. It's doing it to our body. And that can really restrict the way that we breathe. Another driver for sufferers of chronic bronchitis might be that you have a difficult time trusting people when things get tough. You feel that when you're down or when something is happening to you, that rather than being helped by family or friends, you're likely to be betrayed or attacked. or you're afraid that you're going to be held responsible for all the bad things that are happening. Another common driver is that you have a lot of things that you need to get off your chest. This could be confessions, regrets, old hurts, deep insecurities, things that you haven't really spoke about. You're holding them, you're keeping them tight. There's that expression of keeping them tight to your chest, right? And that affects the way that we are able to breathe. So these things, these confessions, regrets, secrets, maybe you walk around with them daily. It's not that you try to stuff them down, but they're right there, and they're with you. They're a daily thing that you're trying to cope with. You might try to ignore them, hoping that they go away, but in fact, over time, they have just gotten heavier. Another driver is that you are dismissive or rejecting of the feelings and emotions that arise in your body. You are hard on yourself, and you easily get angry and frustrated at yourself. You might have the mantras or things that you constantly tell yourself inside your head. I can't believe you're like this. This is all your fault. You're so stupid. You're so weak. You're so all the different things, right? You're really, really hard on yourself. And again, the posture of someone doing that isn't one that is shoulders back, creating a lot of space in the body to be able to breathe. The posture of someone carrying these heavy beliefs and these heavy loads is more closed down, and we just don't breathe properly. So a lot of fluid can build up in our lungs and in those airways. Another driver is it's possible that you grew up in a family that could be very hostile. You may have been exposed to a lot of yelling, a lot of angry words or punishments. And this caused fear and shame when you were young. But as you've gotten older, it's turned into anger. And in your adult life, you try very, very hard to do your best. But again, you feel that it goes unnoticed or underappreciated because you have a deep need for praise, recognition, and validation because you didn't receive that when you were young. You may often feel powerless to change certain circumstances in your life. It's common to have a negative or pessimistic outlook on things because in a way, it protects you from further disappointments or from letting others down. But in the end, it's just you continuing to let you down and not meet your own expectations. It's almost as if you have taken on the job of your parent or parents to criticize, minimize, and belittle you. But oftentimes it's not them doing it anymore. It's you. Frequently, chronic bronchitis in adults is linked to smoking. And while smoking is clearly not good for the lungs, there's overlapping emotions and programs that are the drivers behind smoking. Human lungs are quite amazing and can filter out an incredible amount of pollutants, both emotional and environmental. But if sadness, anger, and grief are present for long periods of time, then that capacity to filter diminishes. Now we can go back and rewire, reconnect, and release these heavy emotions. And the lungs can heal. We can, once again, breathe deeply of life and love. We can proudly stand with our worth and our value with our shoulders back, creating a lot of space, more space for our lungs to stretch and to breathe. As we let go of past pains and traumas, then we expand and we are able to inhale abundance, joy, freedom, and all of the good things that are already around us. The complex relationship between our mind, body, and soul is simply amazing. And though they all speak a very different language, they never stop trying to communicate to us for our greater good. Well, that's it for today for bronchitis. And thanks for joining us again on the Mind Change podcast. I look forward to seeing you every other week to dive into this fascinating topic. Thank you so much for leaving all those 5-star reviews. And please continue to comment on a disease, symptom, or ailment you would like to hear covered. If you're looking to go deeper, we have online courses available to help support you in your journey. The course comes with 2 sessions with a trained practitioner, a supportive community, live monthly mentoring calls with us to help you get the tools you need to heal. You can find out more information on our site, www.mindchange.com, and just click on the online courses tab. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Mind Change podcast, where we are changing the world one mind at a time.